G'day guys, Jason and Nick here on the udder farm. We're actually on the udder farm property this afternoon. I've got Nick on the back of the camera at the moment.
Hey everybody.
Exciting news, my timeless product has finally arrived from the States, so we actually get to use the timeless product and actually start cell grazing here on the udder farm. Previously, the only cell grazing we've done was on the trial property, so where we are now, this is our camping area and where we're going to build the house and the shed and our fruit trees. So we haven't grazed the cows up here before. So what I want to do today is we're going to set up a cell grazing, a single system right around the top of this ridge here, and that way it allows me to cell graze the cattle right down to the river, which we haven't done before. So exciting, because like I said, we haven't cell grazed here before. So it also gives me a chance to try out my new petrol rammer, Star Picket rammer. So I know they work on the metal ones, I've seen them used, but I haven't used them on the timeless, but I 100% know there'll be no issues with the timeless product. So without further ado guys, we'll set you up on a tripod and we'll get erecting. I'll start by putting this corner in guys. The reason I'm using the galvanized Star Picket, I have got the timeless end corner, but because it's only going to be temporary, because as you can see, if Nicole flicks around behind, we've got a heap of lantana and that down in there. So I want to get in with the bobcat and the grubber and remove a lot of that lantana. So I don't want to put this full-time corner brace in. This way I can remove it and get in there with the access to the bobcat and that and do the cleanup. And then later on down the track, once that's done, then I'm going to put a full-time timeless corner brace in here. That way there's not going to be any issues with, when I go to hook on later, with shorting out my reel. It'll all be timeless, it's all insulated. So, but a temporary measure, like I've got in the trial property, is putting this galvanized Star Picket in, but then all the rest are going to be the T-posts. And I'm spacing them 6 meters apart, so that way if we have to get in access through the bobcat, we can. I also won't be twitching the wire straight through the holes on the timeless posts. These ones I'm going to be twitching around, so if I need to pull the wire up to get the bobcat or truck in, it's a matter of just untwitching it. I'll go through that when I'm wiring up though guys. So right now I'll start this petrol rammer in and we'll get this corner one driven in. So I've got that on about a, I'd say it's probably a 30-degree angle. Let's do it. So now I've completed my corner, the end brace with that galvanized Star Picket. What I'm going to do now is go around the whole ridge here and pick out the apexes. Those areas on the corner which, when under pressure when you're straining, are going to bend the post or want to force the post back in. So what I've elected to use on all those apexes is the big bad boy of the timeless range. So it's a 2 1/8 T-post. So the 2 1/8 is the distance across the back, and all my intermediates in between are all going to be the 1 3/4. So I know this is going to be a point where it'll want to pull the fence in here, and as you can see it runs around there and there's a really tight apex down there, so potentially I'm going to put 2 in there. I've gone a bit overkill here, I've gone to 7-footer, so it's going to be a bit of wastage on top. I know I'll cut it off so it lines up with the rest of the fence. I could have went shorter, but this is all I had at the moment, so I'll grab the Star Picket driver and we'll put it in. I think I'm going to need the back of the ute for this one, so it's up there. Righto guys, that went in pretty easily. I had to use the back of the ute because with 7 footers I wouldn't have reached it without the back of the ute. So But also guys, you may have noticed I've got a bit of an angle here. So when you actually strain the wire, it won't be too bad with a single wire. Remember, this is only going to be a single hot wire. It's not an external fence. This was a perimeter fence. You would have 4 to 6 strands on it. There's only going to be one wire, so I'm not expecting it to have a big bend in it. So this is a general, you would do that for a 5 or 6 wire, but I've just done it anyway because I have got a really tight apex that I've got to tighten up. So if you notice what I've done, if Nick comes in here, I've actually set that. I've just downloaded an app on my phone, Spirit Level, and what I've done is I've actually taken it to, I wanted 9 degrees, so that's not too bad. It's 9.5 because the vibration, once I use a petrorama, but it's virtually, the bubble is just outside of the line. So it's very handy app. Bubbles outside the line and it gives you degrees, so that's 9 degrees. So when you are straining the post, it'll flex like that. It won't be flexing too much with the single wire, but that's the idea of putting an angle, that way it's not leaning in on you, it'll correct it. But also, if you notice here, with all timeless products, they come with a sticker on the back. You always drive the post down to the top of the sticker. So there's that one there. I'll show you the ones on the back of the ute. So with the 7-footers, if you have a look here, that's the sticker I was talking about. You bury it down to the top of the sticker. That's the 2 1/8 post, the one I just buried, so there. And with the 1.5 and the 1 3/4, which I'm using, the timeless have got the sticker on here, and it's got here, buried post to top of label. So there's an arrow there. That one there's better. See there, it's got there, guys. Bury post to top of label. So you want to take it to the top of that label. So I think they're doing away with the printed sticker as in a timeless product. They may be going to simple stickers like that, but they specifically place those stickers on there for a reason. They're all set at a predetermined depth, so just bury them to the top of the sticker. If you haven't got the arrows or the timeless name on it, always go to the top of that sticker there. Righto guys, that's the third one we've done this afternoon. As you can see, this is 9 degrees, but it's leaning in. The reason the other two I done were leaning out is because they were on the outside of the apex. So when I go to tighten the line later or put the tension required from the wire, they'll want to lean in. But as you can see, this one, this apex, this is on the inside of a corner, running right round there. So when I'm getting the correct tension on the wire later, this one I want to pull outwards because it's on the inside of the apex, whereas the outside, when you're pulling it, it's going around the corner, it'd want to pull in. Because this is on the inside and you're strengthening it, it'd want to go out the inside of the corner. Like I said, it'd want to pull out. So make sure you're checking that when you're putting your posts in. Also guys, we'll come over here. The question people ask me when they're inquiring about the timeless product, to say, can you use a post hole rammer on these posts? And I've always said you can use a post hole rammer. That's old school. I've knocked in heaps of them over my time with the old metal style. But the demonstration today is with a petrol rammer. That's a lot more savage than you'll ever get using a manual post hole rammer. So I'll give you a look what it done. And that's with a petrol rammer. So the guys reckon, will it shatter? And I said, absolutely not. So I put 3 in, and you'll see me put a lot more in through today and tomorrow. So they're definitely holding up to a petrol rammer. So there's no way you're going to do damage with a manual rammer. I'll get Nick to come over and I'll show you. All it's done on these T-posts is just rolled the corners over a bit. Now, actually haven't shattered them. Just so you guys know, I'll go back and I'll show you all 3. This one's probably the best to date. If you have a look over here, it's only a slight roll on that corner. There's not much at all. So if Nick comes around and shows you all 3 corners, see there's nothing there at all. It's not damaging and it's definitely not splitting the post. This is the first one I done. I've clearly put more pressure on the front here than I have on the back, because that's got a roll there, but it's definitely not shattered, definitely not splinters. And you can see on top, there's no damage. So that's where the rammer's been those black areas. So, you know, if you're really worried about the cosmetic side of this, you could always get a hacksaw or a cutting disc on your grinder, and you can cut that off. But I'm not worried about it, guys. It's end of the day, it's a fence, it's a farm post. So, but if you are and you like that crisp look, just get a, like I said, a cutting wheel on your grinder and just clean that off, or just cut a centimetre off. Morning, guys. So the plan is today is we got all those posts, the big posts in the 2 1/8 in all the apexes of the corners. So we're going to go through today and put in the 1 3/4 in between them, put the wire up, tension it, and that'll be it. Tie a few knots. But at the moment I'll just turn this jug on, we'll get some hot water, make ourselves a cup of tea, have some breakfast, and we'll get cracking. It's sensational, Dale.
Okay.
So we spoke about the spalding on the top of those T-posts from the petrol post diorama. I'll get Nicole to come in and we'll have a look at the steel T-posts. So they probably fared exactly the same. And remember, this is steel compared to PVC. It's spalled over here. So that corner's been spalled over. It's rolled over the edge there and over this back edge. It's rolled over the back 2 edges as well. So a little bit there and a little bit there. So much of a muchness. There was no damage to the PVC and there's no damage to the steel post. Just that little bit of spalling where it's rolled off that edge. So, you know, like I said, you can touch it up with a file or a grinder. You can just take that spalling off on the T-post and the steel post if you're really worried about it. But righto, guys, next plan is we're going to put the 1 3/4 in between these posts now, so I'll evenly space them apart. I do a little trick with mine. I like to run a fishing line between the posts, so that way when I'm bringing my post up against it, they're in a straight line and they're not staggered all over the shop, so that keeps them square. You can use builder's line too, does the same thing, but I find fishing lines a lot easier. I just hook it in, take it the other end, and it's easier to wind up as well. Then it saves playing with rope all the time with the builder's line. So we'll get that started, guys. We'll put you on a tripod and we'll get this fence done. Nicole was just saying this is the closest she gets to fishing. That's pretty sad, but oh,
Sure is.
time and a place for everything. At the moment it's work day today. There's no time for fishing.
Farms don't build themselves, do they, Dale?
That's right, that's my saying. That's her favourite saying, that one. She loves it.
Working so hard, aren't you, Butchie Witchy? Oh yeah, big yawn. Yeah, okay, yep, you can go back to sleep. Or not. Yep, these two puppies work hard all day, every day.
Righto, we finished putting those posts in, probably 33 posts in total, probably 10 yesterday. So it's a little over an hour, so it's a pretty fast process. As you can see, we're getting the coldest fan around. So we followed the bank here. So I already had a predetermined mower strip, so a predetermined distance off. You probably see a couple of them look a bit wonky down there. That's because they're the ones on the apexes. They're the big 2 and an 8. So they're going to support the wire when we're tensioning. So as we're pulling, they'll straighten up. And I put all these ones in directly vertical. So it's only the ones on the angle, which are on the apex, will straighten a little bit. I'm not expecting them to straighten right up, but they will straighten a little bit. Yesterday we were talking about spalling and how on these bigger posts, I'll show you what it did to the end, which is bugger all. I'll show you on these little posts, just in case people are wondering. If you have a look at these ones, there's hardly any damage at all. There's nothing there. There's only a little bit of spalling rolling over on that one edge. Now that's superficial. You're going to get that with a petrol rammer or even a manual rammer. So the manual rammer definitely not shattering them, and it definitely doesn't harm at all. So if you are worried about it, like I mentioned yesterday, you can get a grinder and just grind that off, but it's only superficial. I'll probably leave it, but if I am worried, or if you are worried, you can get a file too. I reckon a file would be a better way. The grinder might be a bit savage, and just file that corner off. While I'm on the subject, guys, this is the, I reckon I've done this is probably one of the better purchases I've made. I can't remember, it wouldn't have been much. I think it was like 280 or 380, I can't remember, don't quote me, but yeah. What it does is, it comes with, I'm going to call them donuts. They could be rings, I'm not sure what they're called. They actually come with 3 different size donuts. I'm going to call donuts. Correct me if I'm wrong out there, guys, but to me it's a donut. They come with 3 sizes, so the one I had yesterday screwed on and it actually fitted the bigger that T-post in. So you don't want to leave the big one on when you're driving these little ones in, because it'll be really sloppy inside here when you're moving it around. So when you're in there, it's going to be all hell, it's going to be slopping around too much, and it makes it harder to keep it in a straight line. So the one I had yesterday I swapped out, and I changed it for that one this morning. If you have a look, that donut fits perfectly. There's only probably 10 mil or maybe say ½ inch play in there. So all they do, they just wind on. So it comes in 3 different sizes. So they just screw straight on there. So I changed that out this morning because, like I said, the bigger one would have been too sloppy, would have been too hard to keep it straight when you're going down. So that donut goes in there, and that's only probably got, like I said, 10 mil or ½ inch play. So that's perfect. Righto guys, we're going to get the wire now on the back of the ute and run some wire out, do some tensioners, some knots, and then we'll tie them up. Righto guys, we're going to do the termination points on the end now. So they call them termination knots or end knots. So what you need for that, guys, is a pair of fencing pliers and your wire. I use 2.5 high tensile wire here. do yourself a favour and cut them possibly 1 metre or 3 foot. Otherwise you'll find it very, very hard when you've got to crank and sort of snap the wire off. So do yourself a favour and do them 3 foot to 1 metre if you want it to be easy, otherwise it's going to be very difficult. And also I've got a ceramic insulator and a tensioner. I like these tensioners. You do get the wheel tensioners, but I prefer these ones. So what we'll do now is we'll crack on and get this termination point finished. So that's 800 guys, or 2 foot 8, 800 or 2 foot 8. Get me long one, this one. Get it through the hole. Bring him around. Pull him right back there as tight as you can get him. And that there, pull this over. Thread him through that hole there. I was going to show you those knots at this termination point, but with my hands all over the shop, it was hard for Nicole to come in and actually see what I was doing with the video, and so it wouldn't have been great viewing. So what I'll do is I'll practice that, guys, and when I do more fencing, I'll show you them. But yeah, it wouldn't have been good viewing. So I'll get Nicole to come in now and she can scan over the knot. So I've done an end termination knot there. So it's either an end or a termination knot, they call it. And if you scan across, I've got the I've got the insulator there, and then from there I've knotted that off, and then I've got my tensioner there. So I prefer those tensioners. There is another way you could have put this in line, and I'll show you that once I get the wires run. So, oh sorry, wire, we only put one wire. This is an internal paddock we're using here, so it's only going to have one single hot wire. So we'll grab that wire, guys, and we'll run it out. Before you run out the wire, guys, you probably need some tyre wire. Rookie mistake on Nick's behalf. She forgot to grab the tyre wire from home.
I thought I forgot the dinner.
No, I actually clearly slipped my mind. But we got some old rusty stuff out here that's been lying around. As you can see, it's in a rusty state. So for the video, we'll go through and finish it with this, and then I'll grab some more brand new tyre wire from home and come back and replace it. So do yourself a favour, cut them about 250 mil. I think that worked out to 9 inches. And that'll, what we're using now, we're twitching it to the fence. So I've cut a heap up for the job. So we'll go over now and I'll show you what you do against the timeless post. Because this is only a temporary fencing, like I said yesterday, guys, we want to be able to take this down. We want to be able to take this down and go over the bank and do clearing, because there's a fair bit of lantana and stuff we want to clear down there. So I'm only twitching these onto the post. So that's another method. You can join them to the timeless post. You don't have to go through the holes. When I finish my clearing, and I know I'm not going to get any more excavators or bobcats or anything up to do any clearing, then I'll come back and I'll put it through the hole. But at the moment, because it's only temporary, I can drop it down. So what you do is, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes down we're going in. Just put your wire in, and this rusty piece, which will be brand new tyre wire next week, put it through there. Hold your wire there. I like to go one over top, one underneath. Hold it tight, and then just twitch in opposite directions. I go about 2 turns. It's 1, 2. Always make sure they're facing out the back too, guys, or down. That way if your animal goes to rub on these posts or wire, which they shouldn't, it's going to be hot, it's not going to poke their eye out. See, what that allows it to do, is a wire to run freely through there. So when you're tensioning now, from your tensioners, which I've got at both ends, that wire will run through as if it's going through a hole. So that's the idea of twitching. It still keeps it free when you want to do tensioning. So we'll go through now. I'll get Nick to drive the car and we'll finish wiring this section up. Alright guys, that's it. We just got to tension it up now. So I've swapped out my trusty fencing pliers for a shifter now. You can get tools for this, but I just use a shifter, and I've had it in the toolbox, so it's not as if I've got to go and buy another tool when you've got a tool quite capable. So with these fences guys, all it's just a matter of putting the shifter on and it's giving it a tweak, and that locks itself. So I don't want to do a little bit here, and we'll go the other end and check the tension. I noticed back there in a few places it's sagging. There's a sag I can see back there. So what I might do is I might give it a couple more twists here, walk around and look at it, and then tension at the other end. See, with these strainers on the timeless post, what they recommend, the manufacturer timeless recommend, is you only got to take the sag out of your wire. It doesn't need to be under tension, just the sag. So when you get trees and animal impact on it, it's got a bit of give. If you've got it strung up like piano wire, it's going to snap the wire. Because it's not a physical barrier, you don't need it strong, it's just got to take the sag out. It's a mental barrier. Once they hit it a few times, the electric shock, they won't go near it. So I've cranked that up probably half a turn. So what we do now is we'll actually walk back and check out this wire for any sags, and also check out if there's catching on any of these pinch points like that did there. So I'll just straighten that one up, pull that over a little bit. See, that's quite straight there guys, there's no tension, that one's not catching. Yeah, there's no sag in those. That post is straight up and down. The posts move freely. Posts move freely. See, with these, if you haven't got tension in them, it's quite easy to just stand on it and take it to the ground. And you can drive a quad over it. I'm going to make a rack, so instead of getting out, instead of getting off the quad all the time, you can just drive over it. So there's a little bit of sag here. It's caught on that post, because that post was bent there. So we'll straighten that one up. It's caught there. A little bit of sag down here in these couple, just there. I'll grab that tensioner from the other end and give that a tighten. Yeah, this end's got a bit of sag in, so I'll give this a few turns on this one. Like I said, I've gone back and the sag's taken out of it now. One thing good about timeless is with that tension now, because you've only taken the sag out, you should be able to stand on your fence, and if you can see, the posts either side of me are bending. So if you've got animal impact on those posts, so if Nicole points to that post there, and then she points to the other post, they're actually bending as I'm standing on it. And that's what animal impact does. If they hit it, timeless will allow to bend down and back up again. Also, if a tree falls on it, you can just take the tree up, and when you stand off it, the timeless then move back into position. And if there is sag, you just go back to your tensioners and re-tighten. So I've seen timeless have got a good one on their website. Actually, a herd of deer jump through a fence. There's about 12 of them, and it's a 5-strand fence. And you can look down that fence when the herd goes through it. It's probably a 5-strand. They're hitting the top 2 wires, and that fence is just flexing for about 100 meters in each direction. And that's what's good about these. And I reckon it's going to be good in Australia. If you get kangaroos go through it, they're going to move with the fence. The fence is going to move with the wire and the animal, because they're flexible. Righto guys, we'll run through and we'll tension the other one. With these tensioners here, I like to put mine at the end here, like in this situation here, because over time the wire and that, the high tensile wire stretches, and you've got to tighten up your stratchet. Only every couple of years. When that gets full, all you need to do then is back the ratchet off, take the wire out, cut any excess, put it back through, bend it, and then retension it. With these ones here, they also, you can use them as an inline strainer. I can be tying that straight to that ceramic insulator, and then with this, you just shred that on, push it down your line, tie your knot here, and then this can be up here, anywhere in this line. And what you do then is you can actually tighten it in line. But I particularly prefer this method because, like I mentioned, if that gets full, in many, many years to come it may not happen, but if it does get full, the only way to cut that then is because it's in here, you've actually got to cut it, take the slack out where all the wines are, and then rejoin it and then put the tensioner back in. This method here, there's no joins, you're just cutting the excess off this in the coil, recutting it and winding it up. So there's one other thing I'll do, guys. I've got these earth rods here. So they say put 3 earth rods in. Pretty sure it's 8 foot apart, 8 to 10 foot apart. I've got to check the specs on that, but I reckon 3. I've only got 1 on the trial property, and I've probably got 300 or 400 metres the same here. So what I'm going to do, instead of using 1, I'm going to put 2 in. So I'm going to drive them in. They had no earth rods, so the next best thing is I just got 18 foot or 1800 or 6 foot galvanised star pickets. So I'm going to drive them in the ground and leave probably 100 mil sticking out directly below the wire, and then I can run my cable and then back up to my energizer, solar energizer. I just went and had a look at Google. 10 foot is the spacing required between the rods, and like I said, the recommended is 3. I'm putting 2 in here because it's only a small run of about 400 metres. So the reason I picked this area, guys, is because we've got water come through this section here. You want to put them in wet areas, that way they get good earth. If we're in a dry area, then you've got issue, it generally doesn't earth as good. You may have to come and tip buckets of water down occasionally. So because this is a drain area, I know it pretty well gets good water here, good water flow. Righto guys, I think we might call that a day. I just got to run my wire through there now on top of those hooks, join them and have a post here for my solar panel sit on, hook it all up, then we're right to go, do some cell grazing. So have a good afternoon, have a terrific evening and an awesome morning guys, wherever you're watching this from, and we'll catch you later. Did I say morning twice?
No, you didn't say it. You said it at the end.